We'll call this meeting to order of the Roseville Joint Union High School District Board of Trustees for Thursday evening, November 18th, 2021. Barbara, will you take the roll?
Here.
Heidi Hall? Here. Julie Hirota is absent this evening. Scott Huber?
Here.
Andrew Tagg?
Here. 4 board members present this evening. We have a quorum. I will ask our student board rep today is George Boljon from Oakmont High School. Welcome, George. I ask you to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, if you would. Again, I pledge allegiance to the flag to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty. Thank you, George. Item 3.2 is our report of closed action from closed session. Item 2.1, the board took action 4-0 to release temporary certificated employees. Item 2.2 was a labor negotiation information item only, and item 2.3 was a information item only with legal counsel. I will update the community at large on a couple items that will come out of 2.3 shortly after the break. It will be a communication from the district office that will include updated policy and procedures regarding the quarantine process that I think the community will be very happy to see. A second item that will come out in communication from the district office will be regarding masks. A less restrictive enforcement policy and procedure communication will be coming out from the district office shortly after sometime after the break. So look for that in the very near future. Item 3.3, a reminder, there'll be an opportunity to speak to the Board of Trustees on items not on the agenda during the public comment item 3.6, and an opportunity to speak to items on the agenda when that item comes up for consideration. Please complete the comment form located in the table in the back of the room, and we will call on you when it's your turn to speak. If 1 to 9 members of the public wish to comment, the timeline will be 3 minutes. If 10 or more members of the public wish to comment on agenda or non-agenda item, the timeline will be 90 seconds. This meeting is being audio and video recorded. Item 3.4, communications. Superintendent Becker, you have some communications.
Yeah, the communication, just to update the community at 4:30 this afternoon, Placer County, from the Placer County Office of Education, with all of the, signed by all of the Placer County superintendents, submitted a letter to Governor Newsom today, very similar to the one El Dorado County sent last week, but really pushing, creating metrics to end masking. We want to know where the finish line is with this and what do we need to do to accomplish that as a local community. Obviously the local control, which you've heard from this group quite a bit, as well as letting the vaccination be choice. And if for whatever reason it does get mandated, leave it with the personal, religious, and medical exemptions, depending on how they proceed with it above us. So on and so forth. So some of you have seen it if you're a Roseville City family. Our district will be sending it out to all of our community tomorrow so you can see the letter in its totality. Just wanted to let everybody know that all the Placer County soups are pushing the governor to move this stuff along, find a way to have an end, and so we can all get back to doing the things we love doing, which is hanging out with these guys right here. So just wanted to let everybody know that.
Okay, thank you, Superintendent Becker. Committee reports, I don't believe we have any committee reports. The ones on November 29th, the Board Policy Review Committee will be meeting. December 6th, Measure D Citizens Oversight Committee will be meeting. And on December 7th, the Finance Facilities Committee meeting will also be meeting. And they are open to the public if you wish to attend any of those committee meetings.
Student board now.
Did I miss it? No, that's Oh, I'm sorry. You would think I'd have this down by now. So just a refresh, November 29th is the Board Policy Review Committee meeting. December 6th is the Measure D Citizens Oversight Committee, and December 7th is the Finance Facilities Committee meeting.
President Tang?
Yes.
Can we we forgot to put it on the agenda there, but for communications, have our student report?
Yeah,
Awesome. Thank you.
so turn it over to our student board member, George Boljan from Oakmont High School.
All right, so I'll just start off with some things going on at Oakmont. So we've had a little down period from homecoming, but once we get back from Thanksgiving break, we'll be moving to planning winter ball. Us and a couple other schools in our district are having our annual canned food drive. It will end tomorrow, and we have a good amount of cans right now. I think that we have about 2,500 at Oakmont, so that's going really well. We also have football playoffs going on. We have a couple of schools still in that. Now we have winter sports. We have girls soccer and boys soccer and both basketballs. They've had a couple scrimmages and everything's going pretty well right now. From Independence High School, they wanted me to note that they're getting ready for the holidays and they're just getting their students hyped up for that. And then finally, we're all looking forward to Thanksgiving break, which starts next week.
All right. Thank you for being here, George, and welcome to as our student board member. Public comments, item 3.6, this is the time to speak to items not on the agenda. I have, it's like more than 10, so I'll call out the speaker and the follow-up speaker, and there'll be 90 seconds on the clock. If you could prepare yourself, and I'll start with Heather Jones, followed by Lily A.
Hello, my name's Heather. My daughter's a senior at Roseville High. This last weekend, she had a stomach bug, throwing up once and had a temperature of 98.8. Out of abundance of caution, I went ahead and kept her home Monday. Upon returning Tuesday, the nurse and administration at Roseville High required her to either get a COVID test or quarantine for 10 days. The school nurse quoted 2 California education codes that gave them the power, code 48213 and 49451. One said she was clear and present danger to the campus. The second claimed that a physical examination showed her to be contagious and infectious even though they hadn't even laid eyes on her yet. They also claimed that they were following the CDPH protocols. Actually, just last week in San Diego, court confirmed testing is only recommended, not required. So my question is, are you really going to require every student who has a cold or flu symptom this winter get tested for COVID? A runny nose, a sore throat, cough, diarrhea, vomiting, that's ridiculous. And if so, you better tell all the parents that this is what they have to look forward to. And parents, if so, my advice to you is you better get really creative with your excuses or subject your kids to unnecessary testing. You don't have to test them. It's absolutely not required. I know you can do better for our kids.
Thank you, Heather. Lily A. Followed by Chris S.
November 2nd, 2021, the day my life changed forever. Now you would think by me saying that it would have been some accomplishment that I did in sports or school, but no. That was the day I was finally freed from this prison you call a district. November 2nd, I was sent home from school because I wouldn't wear a mask. I was sent home from school interfering with my academic learning time because I would not put my mask on. When picturing my high school life, not once did it cross my mind that I would have my breathing rights taken away. My breathing rights. Walk into class and hear, put a mask on, every single day for the past 2 years now. Told, I can't eat or drink in the classroom when the people sitting next to me do every day. This is what you call a school? What kind of school is this? They say school is one of the safest places for kids, yet I feel most at risk there. How dare the schools think that they can run my life? How dare they tell me when I can and can't breathe? How dare they take away my own rights to live? I'm not doing this just for me. I'm doing this for my friends, their younger siblings, my future children, the children right now who can't stand up for themselves. I'm doing this for every person who feels that they don't have a voice, that they don't have a say in this, their own life. Things need to change, and it needs to happen now. Thank you.
Chris S. Followed by Kevin Tillefson.
My name's not important because I'm here about everyone else, not being selfish. Your lack of actions and body language speaks volumes to us, parents of this district. I think we all know what is the plandemic is. It is no surprise all of you board members throughout the state and nation are not on the side of the real fact and truth, but on the sides of the endless jabs and boosters that are for what is false narrative, and to control the narrative and that of the children. But you know, your lies and stalling tactics are getting old. While on my side, the fact is 7 of my friends are dead. They dropped dead from the jab. They chose poorly. We all know who will win the game in the end. It will not be you. Your momentum is falling apart at the seams, and you know this. It's only time before you be brought up upon accessory to crimes against humanity, charges of like so. You will see that law takes time. It's always in the slow lane. It's always slow, slow, slow. Government dragging their ass. The time is ticking. Tick tock, tick tock. I will be here confident, not scared to wear the red hat.
All right, Chris, your time's up. Kevin Tillefson, followed by Lisa Mendenhall.
Good evening. I have taught at Oakmont since 1999. I'm going to start by taking us back in the past when our government and bureaucrats actually had a soul. In 1976, the US government announced a flu outbreak called the swine flu. At that time, they inoculated over 40 million Americans with the swine flu vaccine. However, something terrible happened. People were dying from the vaccine. And in fact, it was determined that 32 people died and thousands were seriously injured. So what did our government do? They halted the vaccine. They did the right thing. Now it's the dystopian year of 2021, and our government simply has no soul. Now our government and bureaucrats are coercing citizens to take an experimental shot with no long-term data nor animal studies to ensure safety. Experts say it takes 7 to 10 years to ensure vaccine safety, yet they rolled out this untested gene therapy in less than a year. To top it off, according to VAERS of the CDC, when analyzing their data, you will see that more people have died soon after taking these experimental shots than all 70 other vaccines combined for the past 30 years. The number of deaths to these COVID shots is now over 18,000, according to their data. With these outrageous facts presented to you tonight, I ask all of you to please protect your staff and students from having to become lab rats.
Thank you,
to
Kevin. Appreciate it. Lisa Mendenhall. Followed by Yvette Bustani.
Good evening, Lisa Mendenhall, Oakmont High School parent. And I'm anxious to hear the announcement coming, but I am going to go ahead and follow through with what I prepared tonight. And I know it's not the first time you've heard it from me. I think it's safe to say that every single one of you in your heart and mind know that these masks need to come off our kids. I'm asking, what are we waiting for? We've been in this fight together since March 2020 and have started and have been seeing the effects it's taking on our kids. The things we've been talking about, the mental health, the lack of expression, the fear that they are going to get in trouble for disobeying or showing their faces. We teach our kids to follow the rules. That's what we do in my household. I know all of you guys do too. I had a conversation with my daughter the other night after we attended the protest at the Capitol on Monday. And I asked her if she felt compelled to act like Lexi did at Ponderosa High School in taking a stand for what's right. I know she firmly believes she should not have to wear a mask. We don't wear a mask anywhere out and about, except for at school. Not at the grocery store, not at gatherings, not at the mall, the movie theater, sporting events, or even church. Why? Because it's not the law. Students aren't required to wear them in school in other states. So why are we doing it here? Her answer when I asked her if she felt compelled to take a stand is, I don't have enough people that would do it with me. You see, peer pressure is a real thing. They want to be respected by their peers and their teachers, and they don't want hate from other students telling them or telling on them that they don't have their mask on.
Thank you, Lisa.
Oh, that was not 90 seconds. Dang it.
Yeah.
You guys have, hold on, you guys have the power. You and the administration have the power. And I just ask you to use that power and set our kids free. Thank you.
Of that, followed by Jennifer Santry.
That's all in a year and a half. All right, I'm going to do this quick. Right here, 66 pages of mask problems, all right? Effects on kids, exacerbates mental health symptoms, causes respiratory and facial staph yeast infections, increases anxiety, decreased intake of oxygen, increased depression in children, levels of carbon dioxide in the blood have increased, changes in respiratory physiology causing fatigue, bacterial pneumonia, neurological issues and lack of oxygen, grades are dropping. Those are just a few of the effects. Vax ingredients, why aren't they listed? If I called the poison control right now and I started listing off some of the vaccine ingredients that we have on other vaccines, guess what they would tell me? They would tell me that I am basically giving my child toxic poison. It's unacceptable. They would call CPS and come and remove my children. This right here says it all. Myocarditis and pericarditis, they're not normal in children. 600 teenage boys ages 12 to 17 have been diagnosed after receiving the injection. 300, not including the 600, died from it. Can you imagine on our fields if somebody dropped dead while playing athletics? So I'm asking you guys, please, okay, do the right thing. Be on the right side. Get rid of the mandate. No vaccines, no masks. Let it be choice. If people want to do this and be experimental until year 2023, please let them do it.
Thank
But
you,
we
Yvette.
don't want it. Thank you.
Jennifer Santry, followed by Shameen Phillips.
Hi, I'm Jen Santry. On November 12th, Judge Freeland ruled in the Let Them Breathe case that there's simply no language in the guidance, however, that requires, directs, or otherwise authorizes schools to force students into an independent study program. Ed Code 201 and Civil Codes 51 and 52 prohibit schools from sending students home for an offense such as not wearing a mask. The CDPH guidance states schools must develop and implement local protocols to enforce the mask requirements. Based on this information, I see no reason why the enforcement protocol can't be something like hanging signs in every classroom saying masks are required. Judge Freeland also stated that the testing and quarantining of students were only recommendations, which the school districts remained free to implement or not. Therefore, there's absolutely no requirement for the school to demand a COVID test for any reason, including testing of students that miss school due to illness. You've made it clear that the rules must be followed. Judge Freeland has clarified the guidance for us, so it's time to make adjustments to the protocols. The school's role is to educate our children, not to be mass COVID testing and quarantine police. We've been talking about this for a year and 8 months. The time for talking is over. It's time to act. Follow the guidance by hanging signs around the schools saying masks are required. This satisfies enforcement. Testing is only recommended, so there's nothing else to talk about regarding testing for
Thank you,
COVID.
Jennifer.
Please stop requiring it today.
Jameen Phillips. And then Karen Kambis.
Good evening. I'm not sure where to even begin with what I have heard and witnessed in the last month. A district that I graduated from and was proud to have my kids in has become a district that is utterly divided based on medical choice and social justice issues. I and others have begun to question whether our children can still get a decent education here. This last month alone, we have had honors courses that have been altered in the grading system at Granite Bay, once weighted and now not weighted, lowering the bar and providing no advantage for college admissions. We've had children harassed by teachers and a nurse, 2 sent home from school for not masking, 1 required to test for a simple stomach bug that was clearly not COVID, and she was told she was a clear and present danger. We've had librarians tell students they cannot look at other books in the library until they speed read specific books on a table that were biased stories of LGBTQIA and social justice reform. This left no time to view books they actually wanted to read. We've had CRT-style curriculum and books slipped in by education social justice champions attempting to indoctrinate students and push political agendas. These stories are only a few. Many of you think that the parents who come before you are the minority. I can assure you that we are not. We stand for many parents and kids who are too afraid to speak up because they fear district retaliation. We stand for others who cannot come here due to children's extracurricular activities and parents who don't understand the complexities of curriculum and budgets, nor how to raise issues. None of us want to be standing here any more than you want us standing here, but we are concerned that academic rigor no longer appears to be a priority. We ask that you consider the parents with the courage to come before you to ask for action as though they represent thousands district-wide, because they do.
Thank you. Karen Kambis, followed by Christina Morrow.
Good evening. My name is Karen Kambis, and my daughter, Lauren, is a junior at Oakmont High School. I really wanted her to come speak tonight. She won't because she says she doesn't care enough. However, I am here to read a statement that she provided to me. The other night, we were talking about how adults don't have to wear their masks, but that the kids do, and that the adults get to decide for the kids what they are and aren't allowed to do when it comes to masks. And she said to me, and I quote, "Do they think us kids are dirty? It's like we are the homosexual men during the 80s when AIDS was happening. Even if they didn't have it, they were considered dirty." She has an uncle, my brother, who is homosexual. You all remember the 80s, most of you, maybe not all of you, but that really struck me. Everyone continues to say these kids don't care. They care. They just aren't articulating it today about wearing masks. You say you're coming out with new guidance after the break. Forgive me if I do not trust that that will solve the problem. We've been doing this a long time. I beg you, I implore you to be bold, to stop talking and take action.
Thank you, Karen. Christina Morrow, followed by Michelle Peterson.
Hi. I don't have anything prepared except for the fact that I just recently started coming to school board meetings because we shouldn't have to be mandated to do anything, masking or vaccines. You know, when we had our children, we take them to the doctor. You're not there. We are there when they're ill. You're not there. So I don't understand why at this time you think that it's okay for you to mandate our next step in their personal medical decisions. And I just think that we need to go back to why the school board is here, which is to have a a relationship not only with the community, but to keep our children safe and to keep going down that path. And right now, I don't feel that that's the case. I feel that you've forgotten the children, you've forgotten your community, and we are here in large numbers telling you that we don't want these things. And while I hope that this letter that you've sent to the state will do something, I really don't believe that it will. But believe me that I'm here with many other people who feel the same way that I do, that we as parents want to continue to make the decisions for our own children, whatever that may be. And choice is the thing that we want more than anything. Thank you.
Michelle Peterson, followed by Leslie Jameson.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Peterson. I have a daughter at Oakmont High School, and as of right now, thankfully, I only have 6 months left, or she only has 6 months left to go through this. I had a lot of things to write prior to seeing the letter that was sent out by the Placer County Office of Education, which Mr. Becker referred to, and in hopes of you guys putting out that things are going to change. I just wanted to let you know that my daughter would come here and speak. She's studying for a test right now, but she's also mentioned that she doesn't really want to have a target put on her back because she feels like she can't. She gets talked to, yelled at, continually told to pull her mask up. So I'm not sure exactly why. We had a conversation that she had to inform me that she felt as if you all were a bunch of hypocrites, especially after she saw pictures where you all as adults and us as adults got to be out in a setting without masks on while she's at school all day long with her mask on or getting yelled at to pull it up by the very people that might have been at some of these events. She just doesn't feel like you guys put into a lot of words and a lot of paper and doesn't see any action. She wants some action from you. So hopefully by the end of the school year, she won't have a mask on so that she can leave Oakmont High School breathing freely.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Michelle. Matt C, followed by Marianne.
Hello. She's right. You guys are all hypocrites. I mean, you came in here not wearing the mask. Then you put the mask on. The mask doesn't work and they're dirty. The shots don't work. The testing doesn't work. John, in your opening statement, you said that you sent the letter. It's not really doing anything. They're not going to listen to the letter. You need to take action. We've seen that before. You guys have the authority to pass all this, transgender stuff in the school and the health and wellness center. Well, you guys have the authority to say no. Nobody wants it. So it's time to stand up. And the good news is you guys don't even have to, be the courageous ones. There's already a dozen other schools that have said no, from San Diego to Shasta. So you guys don't even have to be the brave ones. Just get in line and do it and say no, freedom of choice. If you want to wear the mask, then you can wear it. Like I said, they don't work anyway. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Matt. Marianne, followed by Stephen K.
Hi, my name is Marianne Sheffield and I teach at Wood Creek High School. I've been here since '03. Last time I spoke about you to allow natural immunities. 2 topics for tonight, logic and equity. Because I am not vaccinated weekly, I'm mandated to take a saliva test. In education, we always talk about equity. I believe that if one teacher is required to be tested, then all teachers should be tested. Logic, we the non-vaxxers are required to test this week, but next week, because we're on vacation, we the non-vaxxers are not required. I don't understand this logic because if I go hang out for Thanksgiving, I could be exposed to someone, heaven forbid. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephen, followed by Jeremy Thomas.
Steve Kruzik, teacher at Wood Creek High School. Mr. Basham, last week I sent you an email requesting additional information to be added to the district's COVID dashboard. that would include an up-to-date status of the percentage of vaccinated versus unvaccinated staff members who have tested positive for COVID. I stated, quote, "The district's COVID dashboard has fair data, but I believe it would be more reliable if the dashboard added data showing cases of vaccinated staff and unvaccinated staff as seen on Tracking COVID-19 in California's webpage. Part of your response was the district is not able to comply with your request. In the name of safety, I am formally requesting this new information to be added to the district's COVID webpage via board member vote. Board, please consider the logic and consequences behind the following questions, just like thousands of parents and teachers already have. To clarify, I am not looking for responses. Question 1, we're all going on a full year of wearing masks. They've been proven useless time and time again. I see our campus littered here at Wood Creek with masks everywhere on school daily. This is hazardous waste. When does it end? Board, you have ability to stand up to political mandates just like any other districts in California already have. How many more so-called state of emergency extensions are you willing to condone? Board, I would implore each of you to do your own research and come to the educated decision to defy the experimental drug mandate without being pressured or bullied by our state government, AKA Dictator Newsom. Thank you and have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Speaker. Jeremy Thomas, followed by Joel Manfredi.
Hello, school board. Oh, sorry. We put this on to show you how worthless it is. So, I could totally drink water through it, but yeah, it totally stops COVID-19. And just to show you how worthless these masks are, they are just as worthless as the vaccines. The vaccines do not stop the spread of COVID. They do not stop the transmission of COVID. You guys and your Marie Antoinette garbage a couple nights ago with your school board banquet. You guys are having fancy, lavish dinners while our kids have to suffer out there for 6 to 8 hours a day. And then you guys go and you post 90 pictures on social media and think that we're not going to be pissed about that? Like, you guys are stupid. You guys and your PR capabilities are terrible. Like, you guys don't think we're going to have a lashback on that? Here, I got a quote for you. And this is from a father who got his 16-year-old vaccinated. I was the father of a 16-year-old son, a single parent. I raised my boy since he was a baby. He meant the world to me. We were always together. He was my best friend. They said it was safe, and now I go home to an empty house. He was my baby boy. They need to stop pushing this on our children. I lost mine. You need to protect yours. I love the hell out of my country, but I don't trust my government anymore. That's from Ernest Ramirez. I'll leave you with that.
Thank you. Joel Manfredi, followed by Vicki Kent.
Good evening, Joel Manfredi, Wood Creek teacher. Last time I was here, I also asked for numbers of positive cases between vaccinated and unvaccinated teachers. I sent a follow-up email to Mr. Hasty and Mr. Basham requesting the information. Mr. Basham got back to me and said they don't have those numbers. I'd like to request from you, the board, that you ask for those numbers from the district because I believe that they do know those numbers and they don't want us to know it. If it comes out that vax teachers are getting sick with COVID at the same rate or higher than unvax teachers, well, then the district, I guess, would have to justify the segregation that's going on right now of only having unvax teachers testing on a weekly basis. I ask you again to be clear, board. I'd like you to find out the numbers of positive cases occurring in our district and distinguish how many of those are from vaccinated teachers versus unvaccinated teachers. We get a weekly COVID update from our principal that states the health and safety of our students and staff are our top priority. If this is true, the district will tell you the numbers that they have refused to tell me. I'm going to go off script here a little bit. It's sad to see students come up here and talk about how they're masked like this, and it's emotional to feel the pain of these parents and students. It's hard to watch. I hope that you do something about it. I hope that you make the changes they're asking for. And saying that, I also hope you have a happy Thanksgiving. And if any of your students are in my class, they do have to read To Kill a Mockingbird over the break. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. Vicki Kenton. Vicki Kenton, followed by Kevin Dredge.
Stop the emergency mandates for students and school staff. There is no emergency. Our children are statistically at no risk. The cruel and unusual punishment of forced masking and injections are irreversibly damaging our children. RJUHSD is the problem. RJUHSD is choking itself and our community. Reducing mandate enforcement is BS. Sending a letter to the governor is rearranging deck chairs as the Titanic is sinking. Stop taking federal money and discontinue the emergency immediately. Parents should disenroll now from public school and sign up for a homeschool or a PEA, Private Education Association. Here in Roseville, you can enroll now in Liberty Learning, a full-time in-person school for K-12 with no mandates. Their website is libertylearningca.org, and there will be sports leagues. Be the solution. Stop begging the school district. Raise the education bar for your child by disenrolling from public school now. Let's go, Brandon.
Kevin Drudge. Followed by Marie Galvin. Is Kevin here? Yep.
Thank you very much. And, very, very
Kevin, are you going to address the board or?
Okay, I'm a parent. Hi, Scott. It's been 5 years, and I am very happy to see that we've got support. And I am here on their behalf and our behalf to make a difference. I've spent a lot of time, and you know that what I've done, and to further our mental health campaign, everything that's being talked about right now is a severe, severe problem, okay? We know that, mentally, physically, socially, and what's happening is that we're going insane. There is no metric in our world right now that is fixed, and we know that. All rule and regulation is completely being revamped, and what we've done is I'm a nationally certified peer specialist now. I've volunteered every single day of every single minute, and I'm not huffy, and I'm sorry, it's just when you distracted me from talking to our people, right? I want to do a cheer real quick. Well, before that, I'll do that after. With my volunteer credentials that I really don't know what I'm doing, I've asked for help several times through many people. Family got a hold of me. I represent the youth commission, right? I'm an advisor. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing what I'm doing. She gets a hold of me and says, hey, my kid died of fentanyl, drug overdose. Can I meet you? This is a couple days ago. I said, sure. She brought me some itinerary that's professionally.
Kevin, your time is up.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I'm not going to leave. I can't. I got to finish what I'm started. Okay. Thank you. So this is something that we can implement into our Common Core curriculum. It's the flick of a switch. And if we're talking about something that we can have power on and we can be owners of, this is it. It's a program that it's free. And I know that we don't
Kevin, you need to wrap it up.
Okay.
You need to wrap it up.
So
no more time. Kevin, your time is up.
Okay. I'm gonna do a cheer. May I ask you a question? I'm gonna ask you a question.
We're gonna.
Oh, I've been kicked out and arrested, and
Kevin, that's it.
I'm doing what I'm doing. So kids, KIDS. I'm gonna say, give me a K, give me an I, give me the kids. What's that spelled, kids? Who's number one? Family, and what are we gonna do? We're gonna love. So, kids, you know what? You're right. I'm sorry.
I will meet with you. There's a
And
good
I'm not
way to do
gonna
this.
I'm not gonna throw any more jabs. I'll wait.
I'll meet with you on this.
We want to hear Kevin. We want to hear Kevin. Stop.
Marie Franz Galvez.
Okay. You want to go take them?
Kevin, you need to. Okay, go ahead, Marie.
Okay, so my name is Marie France Galvan. And I am a teacher.
Thank you, Kevin. It's been a while since we've seen each other too. We just have to keep moving on with the meeting. Thank you. Go ahead, Marie.
And I'm a full-time teacher at the Roseville Joint High School District.
Pull it down, Marie.
Oh, Okay. Okay. I'd like to stand with my peers and community members against the vaccine mandate because it violates individual rights to choice of medical treatment. If the goal it is to keep the entire school community safe from COVID-19, then based on the facts and science, all individuals, vaxxed or non-vaxxed, should be tested. We know vaxxed individuals can also get COVID-19 and be carriers, even asymptomatic carriers as well. So it could be contagious just as well. The weekly testing of individuals who have chosen not to get the vaccine or to keep their medical records private is discriminatory, to say the least.
Thank you. And that concludes our public comment on non-agenda items. We'll move on to the consent calendar now. The consent calendar is routine in nature, will be enacted with one motion. I do have a request to take item 4.2 off, so which is employment and reassignment. So we'll move that to under action item. Mr. Constance requested that 4.2. And then I do have a couple members of the, or at least Karen Kambis on the consent agenda. I guess any member of the public can request an item to be discussed in full. So go ahead, Karen. Which items were you wanting to? Looks like 4.3 and 4.9.
Yeah, so let me start. Hi, Karen Kambis. I have a daughter at Oakmont. I wanted to touch on two items. 4.9 is what I'll start with. So that is the new courses and revised courses, and we saw the presentations last board meeting about those classes. And I just wanted to reaffirm on public record that the enhancing emotional and social learning through dialectics is only going to be approved for the therapeutic special program at Wood Creek High. My concern is that even on the website today, it says once the class has been approved for additional schools, it can be added to all schools. And I would, again, hate to see the therapy class added to every school, such as Granite Bay, Oakmont, Wood Creek, West Park, etc. So I just want to make sure that that's considered and clarified when you approve, if you approve the additional classes.
Okay, so and in 4.3 resignations.
Yeah,
too?
so 4.3, so I always look at the agenda. I spend time looking at every agenda item. I think some of you know that. And so I'm always curious. I always look at 4.2 and 4.3, the reassignments and the resignations, and I would suggest that everyone do that as well. It's really interesting to know kind of who in your school, coaches and everything, are leaving or being added or reassigned to a different school. And so I'm always curious. And this time when I looked at 4.3 and I saw the resignation of Paul Everts, I have to say I was shocked and disheartened. And I would tell you that losing Paul Everts from Oakmont's band program is probably the biggest loss for the music program since I've had a kid at Oakmont, which is about 9 years now. What a shame. How can you let that man leave? Why didn't you do everything in your power to convince him to stay? I'm not sure why he's leaving, but if I were in charge, I'd make sure I'd be asking and understanding exactly why he's leaving and trying to make him stay. And you know what, Paul? We love you, man.
Thank you, Karen. Shameen Phillips, you'd want to address 4.9 on the consent agenda?
So like Karen, I look at every item on the agenda. I just want to kind of ask a question, but I know you guys can't answer a question, but more point something out. Since none of us know where our kids are going to wind up 2 years from now 4 years, well, I know where my son's going to be in 2 years. He's hopefully going to be in your high school. But, 2-year trade school or 4-year state university, I just would like to have some clarification on the fact that I've heard that students are not being chosen based on academic qualification for the dual enrollment program. So I'd like to know what the criteria is for who gets chosen and how they're chosen for the class and what the prioritization is, if there's more demand than spots. So if somehow the board can clarify that, that'd be great. I'll shoot you an email after. Also, I would like to just address again, I'm not going to reiterate everything that I sent you in my emails about the social emotional dialectics class, but I too concur. Karen already said it, so I'm not going to reiterate that either. We didn't know what each other, I didn't know she was going to even talk on that. But I would like to see that stay at Adelante and Wood Creek, because this is not a class that I want my child in. And, kids often get placed in classes in electives they didn't choose. I don't know if that's because there is too much demand for other classes or whatever, but it would be a real problem if my son wound up in a class like this because of the social emotional learning aspect, and it's really group therapy. So I would just ask to make sure that this stays at those schools. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Did you want to speak to that, or we'll do an action item when we come to it? I guess we'll move 4.2, 4.3, and 4.9 to the action item. Let's go ahead, Pete.
I don't believe we need to remove the others because people just made public comments on them. So I'd make a motion that to approve the consent calendar with the exception of item 4.2, which will be separate.
Do you have it? He made a motion.
Sorry, I made a motion to approve the consent calendar with the exception of 4.2, which is when I'm requesting pulling. I believe the public just made comments to inform us they didn't ask for items to be pulled. Okay, and 4.3 at the request, Mr. Huber.
Okay, and then again, I know we asked this question last time. Dr. Moore, the dialectics class is intended for Adelante and Wood Creek High School really challenge.
Correct, and we updated the document to reflect those two schools only, but knowing that Wood Creek is specifically for the challenge program, that's how it will be master scheduled. So unless a student is in that challenge program, they would not have access to the course.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second. We're pulling 4.2 and 4.3. Barbara, will you take the roll?
Is Pete Constant?
Yes.
Heidi Hall?
Yes.
Scott Huber?
Yes.
And Andrew Tag?
Yes, and our student board member is a preferential vote?
Yes.
All right, motion passes 4-0 on the consent calendar.
On 4.2, I have nothing to say. I just want to register a no vote, so that's why I wanted to pull. I have no comment though.
Okay. Do we take that now, or do we go after information matters?
We can do it now.
Let's do it now then. 4.2.
So I'll make a motion. I'll just vote no.
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion on that?
Yeah, I just want you to repeat, Dr. Moore, this is only for Challenge High School, for the students that are at Challenge?
No, this is a different item. This is 4.2, approval
Oh,
of
excuse me, I'm
employment
sorry.
additional reassignment.
So you wanted to vote no to a specific employment reassignment, correct?
Yes.
Okay. On employment reassignment, I'll go ahead and move approval on 4.2.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
One no.
One no, so motion carries 3-1. And then on item 4.3, we'll just do this one as well, resignations. Scott?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment on it also. I'd like to vote no, but then voting no means that someone who has submitted a letter of resignation, that they would be forced to stay, which is antithetical to America. And so Mr. Everts is a phenomenal teacher. I've heard from a lot of I've heard from a lot of people about the impact he has had, and most importantly, from a former student who called me. You know, I want to thank all of the teachers that are on here and everyone that's on here for their service, and I'll specifically call out Paul Everts, because I have never had more than I can count on one hand number of people call me about someone who has resigned. So I just want to say that I appreciate Mr. Everts. Again, I'd like to vote no, but I think we really can't. So
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do you have a second?
yeah, I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Thank you. We'll move on to information matters. RSCA report. Do we have Ms. Fork here? Yes, there she is.
All right, good evening. So I am thankful that we are almost at Thanksgiving break next week and that we have a tentative agreement between RSCA and the district now regarding the contract for this year. I know that my students, my friends and colleagues and myself could really use some time to decompress and unwind. Listening to the news from around the country, as well as those that I work with, I'm concerned about the staff and student mental health and well-being. At my faculty meeting at RHS on Tuesday, our counseling department shared news on the high rates of anxiety and depression students are being diagnosed with this year compared to past years. This made me think about all we have been seeing and hearing these last few months, well, actually last couple of years. Everything from the TikTok challenges like the devious licks and smack a teacher to students who need to relearn school codes of conduct and respect. Here at RHS, we have witnessed students not respecting the campus, throwing apples at walls, throwing trash cans down the stairs in the 900s. These things are just happening just this week. We also have the usual disrespecting like teachers, yard duties, etc. in class and around campus with what appears to be minimal consequences. I would like to encourage the board and the school office to briefly survey the staff, including teachers, office and school, paraeducators, administrators, etc., and how they are feeling mentally and physically. What issues and concerns they are noticing with the students, everything from behavior to mental health, and then look at what the results help tell the DO and board about the current state of affairs for our staff and students. I recommend the survey be done soon, maybe at the December faculty meeting, to help get a sense of what issues and concerns each site are currently facing 3+ months into the school year. What areas do we see commonality in, and what are some of the unique challenges being faced at each site? I have not heard the kind of demoralized and exhausted talk amongst my peers like I have in the last few years. And this year, well, I'm hearing from more people that they want to leave this profession and do something where they get more respect and less stress, or just retire a little early because it isn't worth it if it continues this way. People are tired and stressed. Even my students are talking about being stressed out and exhausted right now. I am hoping that with the information collected, we can sit down and start thinking about how we can help address the issues and concerns we are seeing. I don't want to turn into something being added more to our plates, but I think we need to do something. We need to be progressive and even revolutionary. We need to see students and staff around the schools and things like that being recognized for their valued hard work. We know that around the whole nation, we are hearing more and more schools where the teachers are being tired, exhausted, teacher shortages, sub shortages are impacting them. We see schools recognizing the toll and trying to take steps to address it. I want us to be like this. I want us to be looking out for students' well-being and safety by helping to look out for our well-being and recognizing by helping the staff at the schools feel cared for and supported. They in turn will be having renewed energy to focus on students and student success instead of feeling exhausted and defeated. Thank you for considering taking steps to show the staff at RJUHSD that you want to know how we are feeling and what are some of the things we are seeing at our school sites and how we're being given a voice. Let's continue to be trendsetting in the greater Sacramento area. And I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. I hope you have a great one, and I know I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Fork.
you.
Item 5.2 is the Educator Effectiveness Block Grant with our Ed Services Assistant Superintendent April Moore.
Thank you, Chris. We're not doing that PowerPoint just yet. 5.4 is an information item that is a grant available for professional development to support our teaching staff and all of our staff. It is a one-time grant dollars, and it requires us to share with you our plan, and then we will be bringing it back in December for potential approval. We did get some questions this week after we posted, and so just wanted to address a couple of items. The state template has a variety of categories that we can spend the money in, about 10 categories. And we have elected primarily to use the funds to support teacher professional development by hiring additional learning specialists. These are teachers on special assignment who coach. They're essentially instructional coaches. So one of the categories says coaching and mentoring. We put it in there. It's kind of a broad category. Frankly, we could have put that funding in almost several different categories because of what they're doing. It's primarily instructional academic coaching. We have not yet identified, are they math coaches? Are they English coaches? Those are things that we'll be finalizing. But that's what the funds are predominantly being used for. We're anticipating hiring 3 full-time teachers on assignment over 4 years. So the grant goes for 5 years, including this year, but we're planning to spend that starting next year for those positions. And then you'll see some other supports and professional development items in there as well. So this is an information item. I'm happy to answer any questions, and then we would be bringing this back next month for approval.
Board members, any questions on this item? All right. I know we have one public comment on this. 5.2, Marla Franz.
Hi, Marla Franz. I have a sophomore at Grant Bay. I think it was my question, which is why you've addressed it, sort of. So my reading through the first section, and it's not up on the screen. It might be nice for other people to see what the full text is in that first section. I was alarmed at the disparity between your coaching and mentoring of staff, which is what you're calling it, versus what was in section 3, and I'm sorry, section 2, which is programs that lead to effective standards aligned instruction and improve instruction and literacy across all subject areas, including English, language arts, history, social science, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and computer science. So if the goal is to give teachers true teaching skills to help, combat learning loss, it's hard for me to understand why you're putting it in section 1, which talks about inner examination and self-awareness and responsible decision-making skills. I'm sorry, it's hard for me to trust, because when there's a common saying, there's a common saying that you can learn someone's values by how you go through their checkbook. And you put $2 million in this coaching, mentoring for self-awareness, which she's saying is not for self-awareness, it's really for teacher instruction. So why isn't it in number 2? So I just want to express my concerns. And I know this is all abstract, but your priorities are on display. So thank you.
Thank you, Marla. Dr. Moore, would you want to just address that? Why the bulk of the funding is in that section 1 under coaching versus number 2 programs?
So the state category says including but not limited to, so we were not actually focused on social emotional at all. It leads with coaching and mentoring of staff. So that was the role. We're looking at instructional coaches. Category 2 says programs, and I don't consider a staff member a program. So that was why I thought 1 was a better fit. Frankly, it doesn't matter that much. We could certainly move it there because we're certainly considering them instructional academic coaches. And if we think that that's a better fit, that's an easy shift. If we'd like to do that, I can certainly make that change.
Any other board comments?
Yeah, I have a couple of comments. I actually, Dr. Moore and I had traded some emails on this and had a phone call about it. And I actually had very similar questions about that as to why it was in that category, not others. And And after talking with her, you know, that's the purpose of bringing it to the board at this point, is so that we could give, we're not passing it tonight, it's so that we can give some comments and thoughts as to what we think about it. I actually think very similar to that, which is, I don't think it matters which column we put it in based on what we're doing. I think it can fit in a lot of columns. So if it gives some comfort to individuals to put it in column number 2, let's put it in column number 2. Because I can tell you, if we commit to do it, to hire 3 teachers for 4 years, to do coaching and mentoring to teachers, that's what we're going to spend it on. I don't care what the category is. If we say that's what we're spending on, that's what we're going to spend it on. So I don't have a problem if we want to move it to category number 2. That's great.
We did have one other public, Shameen Phillips. Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. So this was an information item only. You need to fill out a card if you want to. Oh, you did, you? I don't have it.
Was that the one for 5.1? Is that the one for 5.1?
Jennifer? No, not Jennifer. What's your?
Leslie.
Leslie. Do you?
Yeah. I have
Go ahead,
messy
Leslie.
writing.
Go ahead, Leslie.
Okay, so I'm here to talk about the effectiveness of the ethnic studies course. I had the pleasure of reading this book this week that is required for a few of the classes, ethnic studies classes in the district. And it's an easy read because it is intended for youth. The author establishes himself right away as someone you can trust. He's cool, relatable, and kind of funny. In the book, he explores racism in America from 1415 to present. The book is centered around 3 groups: segregationists, assimilationists, and anti-racists. Basically people who hate Black people, people who wanted Black people to assimilate and be more like white people, and people who accept Black people for who they are. From the Founding Fathers chapter, I quote, Franklin started a club called the American Philosophical Society in 1743 and served as basically a club for smart white people, thinkers, philosophers, and racists. And this is what Franklin was bringing into America through his club of ingenious fools. And one of those walking contradictions was Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson might have been the world's first white person to say, I have Black friends. I'm not sure if that's true, but I'm willing to make a bet. And I don't know about you all, but I don't own my friends. I often wonder if there were times on Jefferson's plantation when one of his slaves, one of his friends, taught him things he couldn't learn from the American Philosophical Society. And if so, if that particular slave was seen as something different, like a super Black, and if his I have Black friends was ever followed with, you're not like the rest of them. And if when Jefferson's white friends came over, he had that slave showcase his intelligence or his talent or whatever special thing he thought only white people could do. When it came to Black people, Jefferson's whole life was one big contradiction. This author continues on to talk about how the Declaration of Independence was only written to declare America free from Britain so that it could maintain slavery. Also included, the desegregation of schools was racist because it required a Black kid to go to an all-white school and not a white kid to go to an all-Black school. Oh, and also the Cosby Show is an example of assimilationism because it presented an all-Black family that was only acceptable because they acted like a white family. One key event I noticed the author left out was the Loving versus Virginia Supreme Court case, which legalized interracial marriage. Since then, interracial marriages have increased 60% and has been a key indication of how racial relations have improved in America. I'm not sure, but I'm willing to bet that the author doesn't agree. This is indoctrination and not education. This author, Ibram Kendi, has profited extensively by promoting this narrow, flat ideology. His ideas have become very popular nationwide in many diversity trainings at businesses and schools. But I'm going to close with a quote you've probably seen in classrooms. What's popular isn't always right, and what's right isn't always popular. I encourage you as a board to make the right choice moving forward with our children's education. And
Thank
you know
you.
where to find me.
Thank you, Leslie. Michelle, you also filled out a card? Okay. Thank you. All right, information item. Thank you, Dr. Moore. For I don't think we got it until after they finished. That was the RSCA report. Yeah. It's up to you. Jennifer, okay, you can speak to 5.1 because we missed your card.
To get it in quickly. But like I said, I had no idea what the report would contain. And what I think I heard was we need to do another survey to talk about what's going on right now. And I think we can avoid the survey because we have been talking about what's going on and the problem with our children. And that's the fact that we've been masking them, holding them down, keeping them out of schools, making them feel dirty, quarantining them, all of the things that we've been talking about. Kids are going to act out because of this. In the good old days, we weren't allowed to wear masks into school or into the bank or into stores because it removes your identity. So what might they be thinking about with hiding behind masks all day? No survey needed. No survey needed. I mean, I'm trying to stay calm because my brain is blowing up right now. It's time for action. We want our kids to have a normal education and go back to 2018 where we went to school, they were disciplined appropriately for things that they're doing wrong, and they're not acting out constantly because of all of this other madness and depression. I'd also like to point out Stamped, that book, was a global read aloud book suggested to West Park and I believe Antelope last year for everyone to discuss. That I objected to it then, and it was something librarians put out. And we no more surveys. We need action, please.
Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, item 5.3 is a learning loss update with Dr. Moore. Learning loss update, item 5.3.
Update on how we are doing in a variety of areas that we've been keeping you apprised of. So we have been on a great process led by Jen Layton and working with a team of teachers to select a screener. So they did do that. And on tonight's agenda, thank you for approving on the consent agenda the screener, which is with IXL. So with that approval tonight, we are on track to begin implementation in our 9th and 10th grade courses for English and our integrated math 1 and 2 courses. That'll help us track to see how are our students doing, what are some areas that we can help accelerate their learning and provide some supports to them. So that is moving forward. We also wanted to share how we are doing as of Q1, which just ended last month. You can see over the last 4 years, we know last year was a strange year. The year before, the Q1 would have been more typical. And so last year we had that increase of not only the D's, which is the light orange, and the F's in the 9%, but we also had just the credit only where students could choose credit. So that was pretty high in our numbers, and we are glad to see that we're starting to bounce back to our more typical percentages. We never like to see any D's and F's, but we are starting to bounce back to what we would consider our typical percentage ratio there. And so appreciate the hard work being done by our students and our teachers to help our students this year. We had also received a question about the graduation rate and how we're doing on that. The state has not confirmed the graduation rate for the class of 2021 yet, but we do have the last 4 years, and that does include the first COVID year of the class of 2020. And you can see that we are holding steady. So the protections that we have in place, the hold harmless from the class of 2020, and then we have the other graduation protections for last year's class and this year's seniors, we do believe we'll be able to hold steady with those, and we are making plans to continue monitoring our current 9th, 10th, and 11th graders to make sure that we're able to support them to be on track. And so that just brings me to our data monitoring. So we're giving you a brief synopsis tonight, and in our periodic updates, just know that this is not the only time we're looking at data. We're definitely doing this on a regular basis in multiple ways and multiple layers. For example, our schools that are going and continue in the WASC process, the self-review, they look at data on a regular basis. They look at the same data we're showing you at a district-wide, at a school-wide, at course-wide, grade level, all sorts of things, just to see how are we doing on behalf of our students and how do we continue to improve. We have school site councils, our LCAP, just a variety of processes to make sure that we look for ways to improve and meet the needs of our students. One of the things that we're doing as a result of what we're finding, especially those Ds and Fs that we were talking about, is providing expanded credit recovery. And so we recently had a deep study session on credit recovery with a variety of our leaders and counselors who work with our students on a daily basis, and have a variety of recommendations that have come out of that. And we're very pleased that we now have a side letter with RSEA to help us scale up more credit recovery options that we believe will meet the needs of our students. So you'll hear more about that in the coming months in our meetings. We'll be bringing some more contracts forward that will help us in providing some of these courses for credit recovery, using some online curriculum within the school day as well as before and after school. We also have another grant coming that we'll be bringing forward in the winter for your review, specifically around this. It's a state funding, one-time funding for A through G success, and includes credit recovery dollars. And part of that is they're asking every district, and we're embracing this commitment, to make a commitment to allow any student who received a D or an F or just that no credit during the COVID semesters, those 3 semesters, that we would allow them the opportunity to retake that course if it was an A through G approved course. But to do that, it will take a lot more than our current model, and that's why we've been studying it pretty steeply. We have a great new side letter with RSEA to explore these new models to scale up and provide that opportunity at scale. So we will be bringing more to you in the future, but our team is excited about the innovation and the opportunities in this area. We also have been talking about support to teachers, and so maybe in hindsight I could have flipped this presentation, because this is connected to how we'll be spending the Ed Effectiveness Grant dollars and the staff that we're having, we're onboarding with us. So our team in Ed Services, specifically our curriculum and instruction team, has been working on a multi-year professional learning plan that will focus on supporting student learning, first best instruction, or what we call tier 1, that's available for all of our students in the classroom. And it includes support for teachers on lesson design and all components of that lesson design. So here you can see kind of our working logo for that professional learning plan, to how do we design our lessons, engage our students, and assess their learning. And using those 3 prongs and a multi-phase process, we're looking forward to providing a lot of support for our teachers that will include interventions, supports to accelerate student learning and ensure that they're making that progress that we would expect from all of our students. So again, our Ed Effectiveness Grant will be, the staff will be helping to roll this out over the next few years. So those are a few highlights and updates for you, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Board members, any questions? Thank you for your report today. And we do have 3 speakers that would like to address this. Start with Karen Kambis.
Hi again, Karen Kambis. Learning loss. So we've been talking about learning loss for a really long time. Probably since March of 2020, when we went home for the 2 weeks. And I wish Julie Hirota were here. I'm sure she's has another commitment, but because that's one of her hot topics. But I guess I'll just try and and speak from a parent perspective on learning loss. When I saw the slides, and I think, I guess I missed it when Dr. Moore, you were going over it because it was pretty fast on the timeline for October, November, or December. Anyway, all I saw was that I didn't see anything for juniors in that or seniors as far as addressing their plan for learning loss, specifically as it related to those actions. So I guess our juniors and seniors are SOL, and they'll just have to, go with what they've got. But what I will say is that credit recovery is not learning loss recovery. It's credit recovery. It's get whatever you can get to get the class passed. That's very different than learning loss. What I will say is that from a parent perspective on learning loss, and we've had these conversations over the course of the last 18 months, I know through COVID and through some changes to courses like calculus is no longer honors calculus, I know that my daughter has learned less. I know she's learned less than my son because he had the same classes and she has learned less. As a matter of fact, her calc class, because she's not in honors class, she's going at a slower pace, admittedly by the teacher, who's a great teacher, love him, but he's going slower because he's got kids who are regular calc and honors calc together. And I know that she's learning less, and I know she's not prepared for AP calc, so she's not taking it next year because she's not going to be prepared. And that's a shame because she doesn't have that opportunity. What I would suggest, as far as where to spend some money, I would do a few things. I would add more counselors to help these students understand what classes they can take, they should take based on their future. The amount of time our students have with counselors is minuscule. Most of us have to go sub that out with another organization and spend money there. The other thing I would do is I would spend some money on working on that equity policy that we haven't seen for months and months that's still up in the air, that seems to be the big black hole. I'd also ban critical race theory. I'd stop talking about privilege and oppress. I'd stop doing restorative justice and letting kids fight in classrooms and then just talking about it. I would also not train our teachers any longer on their implicit biases and their prejudice, and I would get rid of ethnic studies. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Kristen Wagner.
Hi, I'm Kristen Wagner. I have a daughter at Oakland High School. So pretty much between Leslie and Karen, that was almost everything I was going to say. So talking specifically about learning loss, I think that if we focus on and taking the teacher's stress level down, if they stop trying to have to enforce how a mask is worn and who's quarantined and who gets out of class, that's going to decrease your stress. You're going to have more time in class, more time for teaching and actual learning. The other thing though is we're spending all this money on this grant, and I want to make sure it's actually spent on increasing our mathematics, English, critical thinking, actual skills. I, again, have older sons who graduated already from Oakmont. I know my daughter is learning less. I'm in the same boat as Karen. And I want to make sure that we recover that if there's a way forward, and then stop pushing through new curriculum that focuses on DEI and equity. I have biracial kids, and they come home telling the most atrocious stories, and it's very sad and depressing. My daughter's in the Health Academy, and they have a whole section on justice. Every single one, and I'm a medical professional myself, every single article they're given is completely slanted. The data is slanted, is one-sided. So it's very disturbing, and I hope that you can use that grant money and spend on actual ways we're going to actually improve actual learning to get functional adults who can have jobs that pay well. Thank you.
Thank you. And Dave Lang.
Hi, my name's Dave Lang. I have 2 kids in Granite Bay High School, 2 in the pipeline. And I want to talk today about learning loss as it relates to honors courses. I want to talk first about Honors Spanish 4. Honors Spanish 4 has historically been an honors course. Kids this winter signed up for Honors Spanish 4 with the understanding it's an honors course. It would be honors weighted. They had that when they looked in the catalog or in their course selection sheet, it was an honors class. When they filled out the online registration portal, it was honors. But they recently got their grades. And when they got their grades, the honors designation was dropped, the course number was suddenly changed, and the weighting was removed. I think we can all agree as a matter of fundamental fairness that once you sign up for a class, you can't change the terms of the course. Kids signed up for the course with the understanding that it was an honors course, it was going to be honors weighted. So I think, they might have chosen a different course, they might have elected something else, but they wanted the rigor, they wanted the honors boost from it, and I think that's fair. So I hope we can take a look at this. If it hurts our kids, it's unfair. I think the board can actually address that immediately. But that also raises a few other points. And the points it raises is who removed the honors weighting? Where did it go? When was it removed? Why was it removed in the first place? The circumstances of this seem to me to be unclear. So it would be nice to have a little bit of transparency to see exactly what the mechanics were of this removal. Which brings me to the overall issue of why are we dropping honors courses? Why? We've already lost honors chemistry. We've lost AP chemistry. That's huge. Now we're losing honors pre-calc. We're losing honors French 4. It seems to me that we shouldn't be doing that. I'm opposed to doing that. I think COVID took a toll on learning. I think everybody here can agree that it took a toll on learning. But what we should be doing is ramping up the intensity and the rigor and not dropping it down. Students need rigorous preparation, particularly in honors pre-calc. For pre-calculus, for calculus, they also need it when they go into STEM classes and beyond. And, let the kids with the ability, the desire, and the drive to push forward and achieve. And I don't think we should hold them back. And there's one more reason on this is, consider this. Berkeley School of Engineering, the average admitted GPA, 4.2. The computer science, 4.3. UCLA general admission, 4.29. Okay, so kids need a competitive GPA. I didn't invent this. That's the reality we're in. They need a competitive GPA to gain admission to college. If we're dismantling the honors course here, the honors coursework, we're placing our kids at a massive competitive disadvantage when it comes to them actually applying for school. This hurts our kids. It comes at the worst possible time because they can no longer get SATs and ACT scores considered. So this is it. All they have is GPA, and that's all. Okay, so they want the rigor, they want the intensity, and I would ask the board to take a look at that and just provide this in writing what's going on.
Thank you, Dave. Okay. Any other comments? All right, we'll move on to action matters. Item 6.1 is to schedule the annual organizational meeting, which is scheduled for, set for Thursday, December 16th will be our next meeting. And at that point, we'll elect our board officers for the coming year. We'll also select committee members who will sit on committees. And we'll also look at the schedule for the upcoming year, how the schedule will look through 2022. Do you want to add anything to that, Superintendent Becker?
Yeah, no, just that we'll be looking at the different dates and for our meeting schedules, and then the board can decide which committees they will participate on throughout the year, which will look a lot different than what they have been just because of all the in-person access to those meetings now. So there's a list that was sent earlier of all the different committees and how often they meet and what the role is. And then between now and then, if there's any follow-up discussion or information needed on any of those committees, please communicate with myself or any staff on cabinet.
So just a couple things. John, if you wouldn't mind recirculating that list so we don't have to find it in emails, because sometimes I read and delete and don't always keep. I just want to say, Andrew, thanks. I know this last 2 years have been one heck of a commitment. In fact, the last 4 years where you and Scott and Julie, they've all been tumultuous, and there's been a lot of time and commitment to that. And, as we move forward, I don't think 2022 is going to be any easier, with all this COVID stuff that is hanging on, the vaccine mandate that is being talked about at the state, the moving to trustee areas, the changes in the masks and all that stuff. And, it's going to be tough. And I just wanted to say, I know that the three of you have been through the battle and you've put a lot of time and commitment. And I just wanted to offer up, I know we don't have a formal rotation policy in the board in practice or in policy, but I just wanted to say, you know, I have the time and the capacity and the energy, and I'd like to step up, and I'd like you to consider that with all this work coming up, we're gonna need someone who can put a lot of time into the position, and I have that time. I think that I have, in my first year, I know I'm new to the school board, but I'm not new to governing, and I've served on many boards and commissions. I've chaired regional boards, national boards, state boards, and a lot of committees and things like that. And I think I've demonstrated over the last year that I'm willing to roll up my sleeves and get in there and make the time available, even when I don't have the time available. There's just a lot of work to be done. And I just want you to know that I'm willing to put myself forward and do that, because I know you guys have been through, I don't know if I can say the word hell with students in the room, but you've been through hell in trying to make this work. And it's just something to think about as we move forward. So I'm just honored to be on this school board. I tell Andrew this all the time. I actually get fueled by all the stress that we get in this job. And I just want you guys to know that. I know normally we have the organizational meeting. That's the first time you get to talk about it. And so I've loved what I've been doing. I'm here to help, but I'm also don't want to step on, you know, the process. If other people want to step up, I just want you guys to know where I am in this, and something to think about over the next few weeks.
Thank you, Pete. Appreciate that. Anybody else?
Then I just make a motion to schedule it.
Yep, let's make a motion to schedule it. You make Pete's made a motion. Do we have a second? All right, a motion by Mr. Constant, a second by Ms. Hall. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion passes 4-0. Item 6.2 is public disclosure of fiscal year 21-22 RSEA agreement and ratification of agreement with our Assistant Superintendent for Business Services, Joe Landon.
We have completed the collective bargaining process with the Roseville Secondary Education Association and have reached a tentative agreement, which was discussed earlier. With that, we provided all the required disclosures as well as the certifications. Brad is going to come up and talk about one quick amendment, and after he does that, staff would recommend that the board ratify the settlement agreement and authorize the execution of the certificates. But we have one amendment. Brad's going to.
So the document that's being sent out to you right now are some mutually agreed upon changes to Article 7, hours of employment. As a point of clarification, there was a misunderstanding between RSCA and the district staff regarding proposed language changes to Article 7 as they are currently reflected in your board packet. So we discussed, we clarified, we rectified the misunderstanding after the board packet was published on Monday, November 15th. Specifically, there was some language in there that we proposed that identified certain positions, nurses, district librarians, TOSAs, as well as professional development specialists as 8-hour employees. RSCA had agreed to that language. They misunderstood, thought that they were already 8-hour employees. We clarified that, and we agreed that we would retain those positions as 7.5-hour employees like the rest of our teachers. So staff is asking that the board ratify fiscal year 2021-22 RSCA settlement agreement with the amended version of Article 7, hours of employment, which was revised on November 16th. Those revisions are highlighted in yellow.
Board members, any questions? Like there's any questions? Go ahead, comments. Pete?
I don't want to repeat myself from last year, but I'm going to. I just want to point out that, you know, as I mentioned, we've had some rough years, and there's definitely been some contention between what students want, what families want, what teachers want, what the board wants, what the state says and does and imposes and doesn't impose. But throughout that all that time, we've maintained an excellent working relationship with our union. And, you know, Jessica comes and gives us our updates, and we're able to have good dialogue. And unlike the world that I am familiar with outside of this school district, contract negotiations are the dumping ground for all the little grievances and all the time to fight and argue and extract your pound of flesh on each side. And that doesn't occur here. And it just amazes me every time we go through these that we say, okay, go out there and negotiate. And I'm expecting a long protracted discussion. And our staff has come back and saying, you know, we worked it out. And we work it out because our teachers are committed and RCA is committed to reach an agreement. And I think that's why, for all of the bumps and the bruises and the warts that we have such a great school district. I like to keep reminding everyone that because it's easy for us to get riled up over the little things. But overall, we got a great school that prepares kids wonderfully. And I've got 4 kids in college, and each of them has told me at a separate time how they think college is easier than high school and that they were well prepared going through, in my kid's case, Oakmont High School. And it's because of the people that we have teaching the courses and you know, interacting with our kids. So I just wanted to highlight that because I think it's important to acknowledge that we could always be fighting and dealing with grievances and having to go through fact-finding and imposition and mediation and all those other things. And we don't do that because we work together and we're able to take that energy and fight about all the other things like we've been fighting about today. So a long-winded way to say to RCA, thank you, and to our professional staff that works to make sure that we can afford what we negotiate and we negotiate in good faith. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete.
Yeah, I'll second Pete's comments. We do have a very good relationship with our bargaining units, and the negotiation that happens is very different than happens with many public agencies. So appreciate that, and moving forward, it gives opportunities to build bridges and move forward in a joint way where we have a common goal and a common vision. So anyway, that's it.
Okay. Yeah, I just thank both Brad and Joe for their work on this, Jessica and the RSCA team for putting this together. We have had great relationships over the years. They go back a long ways. We have limited strife in this district. I do want to thank our teachers union, our teachers for all the work they've done during this time of COVID, with hybrid, with in-person, with again, as was brought up, having to monitor masks and all those other stuff, while also teaching at a very high level, and the graduation rate is through the roof here within this district. I too have a child who graduated and is flourishing in college because of the block system and the way our teachers conduct their business here and teach at a high level. So I just thank all those involved in putting this together. I know Brad and Joe, and Joe's our financial guy who keeps us on track and makes sure we have money to spend, and we depend on him a lot, and he does a fantastic job. And Brad likewise with working with the teachers union and the entire district. So thank you. And with that, do we have a motion?
I'd like to happily make a motion to approve.
You like what?
Sorry, this darn mask. I would like to happily make a motion to approve.
Second it.
All right, a motion by Mr. Constant, a second by Mr. Huber. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes 4-0. Item 6.3, adoption of the 22-23 school calendar with our Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources, Brad Basham.
So the
The purpose of this item is to recommend adoption of the 2022-23 school calendar for Adelante High School, Independence High School, and our 6 comprehensive high schools. And the background, the Roseville Secondary Education Association, RSCA, Executive Board and district staff have developed a school calendar. That's Exhibit A in your packet for the 22-23 school year. The proposed calendar was reviewed by district leadership as well as shared and discussed with our partner districts, Dry Creek Joint Elementary School District, Eureka Union School District, and Roseville City School District. And staff recommends approval of the proposed instructional calendar for the 2022-23 school year.
Any questions from the board? Could you sort of go into a little bit on how each calendar, say from our 3, because we have 3 feeder districts or partner districts, how that works? And I know we're always a little bit out of alignment, but just go into a little bit about that process, Brad, if you would.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Dry Creek adopted their calendar early on. Roseville City and Eureka were waiting for us, which they typically have done in the past. They want to see where we're at first to try to be as close in alignment as they can. And it's difficult because the 3 partner districts also have different needs as well as things that they're trying to accomplish. So, for example, Dry Creek always has a 2-week spring break. Roseville City School District has 3 additional professional development days, so that extends their school year. Eureka is looking at a President's Week rather than the 2 3-day weekends, which is similar to what Rockland Unified does. And so trying to get all of those in alignment is very difficult. We are very close on the first day of school, it looks like, within a day. The end of the school year becomes more difficult because, like I said, some Roseville City is longer. So we have 2 that are going into that second week because of the 2 weeks of spring break or because of the additional professional development days. We also have a need and a desire to try to complete the semester before the winter break, so our students are not coming back after the break to take final exams. So we're trying to squeeze that and balance the 2 semesters. They don't have that same issue in our partner districts. So it's complex, and we talk to all of their staff. We compare dates. We try to get as close as we can, and I think we're pretty close. I would say that we'll be off by a day or 2 with certain holidays. And then we are working on the 23-24 calendar now to try to get that to our partner districts in the spring. That'll give them a little bit more time to get their calendars done.
Great, thank you. Any other questions?
Are you able to speak to the new start times yet or not, or do we know those?
That'll be a different item. I think we'll be bringing that to you guys later. What we have come down to is we know that we can't begin any earlier than 8:30 in the morning. And it looks like, based on our conversations with our partner districts as well as transportation, we're looking at an 8:30 start time and a 3:20 ending time, with probably a late start Wednesday for collaboration in the morning rather than in the afternoon.
Okay.
Those are the preliminary conversations that we've had at this point.
Yeah, we'll be bringing that back at a future meeting.
Yep. Thank you.
So just a comment that, you don't need, it's just a comment. This alignment of the calendars is really important, and I think we're really close, and it's really appreciated by the families. I know many of us have had or do have kids in multiple school districts at the same time. And I remember when it was off by several weeks, and it was very, very difficult for families. So I would prefer perfection, but I understand we can't get there because it's not always up to us. So I'm just glad we're here, and unless there's any.
Don't you know a board member on one of the other districts?
Oh, I do. Let me tell you, intergovernmental relations can strain other relations, let me tell you. But I will just say, I will make a motion to approve this.
All right.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Constant, second by Mr. Huber. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes 4-0. Item 6.4 is the consider nomination for the CSBA delegate, and I know there's an opening. Hang on one second. If we have any nominations, should have had this ready.
While you're looking that up, can I just make an editorial comment?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm not happy with CSBA, and I think we need to have a future conversation about CSBA.
I hear you. I hear you. Well, this would definitely give us representation. You know, our region has 8 delegates. Our regional director, who's Renee Nash, sits on the Eureka Union High School District, and we're part of Subregion 4D, where there's 3 members: Julianne Brown from the Auburn Union District, Elisa Fong from the Roseville City, and Rochelle Price from Rockland. So Rochelle may be leaving after is up, possibly. So if anybody's interested or knows anybody that want to nominate, we can have that conversation another time, but the packet's in there to make a nomination.
I don't think they can handle me, and I don't think I can handle them.
Absolutely.
I feel the same. Like part of me wants to do it just so that I let them know how I feel, like I did in my survey. But I don't know if they want that.
Our group is the Placer group is very upset about it. I know Renee is, and so, you know, it's been made a mention of to the higher ups in CSBA.
Is this a one and done? Do we have to make a decision today on this?
You have
or-
till January 1st, I think, to make a nomination, so we can discuss it.
And does it have to be done by board action?
No.
Or can we just delegate and say,
Yeah.
well, we'll tell you what we think and you can figure it out?
Well, we each have to vote, so you do have to vote.
Oh,
Or you
Are
nominate
you,
somebody.
Peter, are you thinking about it? Because if so,
No.
I would, you know, say, hey, I'll make a provisional.
No, I seriously do not
We can talk about it,
have
though.
any interest.
Definitely. Okay, it's just information item, and we'll move on to item 6.5, revision of board policy 1312.3, uniform complaint procedure. With Rob Hasty.
Good evening, Board. Item 6.5 is for your consideration, revision of Board Policy 1312.3 for the, I think, 17th time. I apologize. Unfortunately, you guys know that we've been going through the federal program monitoring process, and we take most of our board policies from Gamut. However, the state of California prefers their model program over Gamut's. And so what you have before you is board policy 1312.3 with the changes that would make us fully in alignment with CDE's model policy. And so that would allow us to pass the federal program monitoring process for uniform complaints. And so board recommends the approval of board policy 1312.3. I'll take any questions.
Any questions?
No, just a statement from the policy committee, given that most of this is sort of stuff we're stuck with, we didn't feel any reason to take it to a policy committee and just bring it here.
Okay.
So with that, I'll make a motion to approve just so that we can be in compliance.
Okay, motion by Mr. Constant. Second by Ms. Hall. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion passes 4-0. Next regularly scheduled meeting will be on Thursday, December 16th, back here at Wood Creek High School, beginning at 7 p.m. Any pending agenda items? Next meeting is is the annual board organization meeting and the annual financial corporation meeting. So we have a lot of budgetary items at the next meeting as well.
Just a quick question to Joe, since we're going to be having our meetings that we don't want to have about going to trustee areas. We've had a delay with the demographer. Is that going to disrupt any of this, or are we still going to be able to meet what we need to meet?
We should still be able to meet in January and February with our public hearings. The delay is in getting the online tools. the tool that the board approved and wanted to move forward with, the online tool called District R. I was informed today that that company has gone out of business. And the only online tool that the demographer has does not work with school districts. It only works with cities and counties. So they are not aware of any online tool that we can use. They do still have the paper maps and all of that they are in the process of producing. So I'm waiting to hear more information about what options we have.
We'll just say ugh.
That's what I said today. So hope to bring an update at the within weekly report, as well as potentially at the December board meeting with whatever information I have. But,
Thanks, Joe.
President Tagg, also at the December meeting, we will be getting the first reading from New Pacific School, the charter proposal from the Pacific Charter Institute. So that will be their first read, followed by a second read where the board would take an action in January.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't know that this needs to be an agenda item, but to update the dashboard, does that have to be something that we vote on
No.
to change
no,
the
we-
changes
we
that were
gave-
talked about tonight?
Yeah, direction.
And
Yeah.
eliminate the quarantine column and add a positive cases, vaccinated, unvaccinated.
I don't think we get the details tonight because the Brown Act, but I think we can each have discussions with the superintendent and make sure that they continue to evolve.
Yeah,
the tool.
we have to watch for some employee confidentiality issues because of skewed numbers. So especially in the unvaccinated side, it could show who that is through our school community. So there's some issues with that. So they've been working through it, but just.
How does Placer County do it?
I don't,
Or
I
how
don't
do
think
they-
we can have this discussion.
And they get all their, we don't need
Yeah.
that. It's just.
All right, so board and staff comments. Start with Joe. Brad? April? Heidi?
I just wanted to say I would love to, I know he's not in the room anymore, but I'd love to come to Paul Everett's class before he leaves and visit his band. I don't know if that's something I can set up with the Oakmont principal, but I never made it out to Mr. Everett's class, and I would love to. And then I wondered too, Mrs. Fork mentioned the idea of the survey, and I don't think the survey is a bad idea. I just think that if we do a survey, that we need to also survey the students and just check in on how they're doing and their wellness and health, and if they're feeling like these masks are what they want anymore. I think that there's a little bit of this sentiment of, we think the kids are fine. I don't think the kids are fine. And it would be helpful maybe to ask them and to also ask the teachers what they think would be helpful. So I don't think that I think that there's an idea there, maybe worth dialoguing a little bit more. Because I do feel that strain, I know it's hard for the teachers and it's hard for the students, and I feel like it could all be remedied quickly. So I just wanted to touch on that. And then if we could get more information at a future meeting about the Spanish 4 and the honors and why that got dropped, but next time maybe.
Thank you, Heidi. Pete?
No, nothing of note. Just happy to be here.
Happy to be here. Scott?
I just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. It'll be good to have, some time with, quite frankly, with family and loved ones, and to be grateful for, having lived in a foreign country for 2.5 years of my life. This is a great place to live. And I will tell you, in this school district, I will take our problems over the school districts, the problems that other school districts have, our neighboring school districts. I'll take ours every day of the week over someone else's. Because this is a pretty good place. And anyway, happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, this is a great place. And I did a tour with, John and I did a tour of Antelope this week on Wednesday, and it was really fun to see the students engaging. And yes, they had to wear masks, but they were making do with it. And we're in an engineering class, a photography class, an English class, a history class. And the kids were engaged in the process, and learning was happening. And you know, you can tell administrators are a little burned out, teachers are a little burned out, but they continue on. And it's not ideal. And you know, we sit here and we do listen, and I get the passion, I get the angst about all this, and I totally understand it. We all agree with you. We didn't mandate these masks, and I know you want us to do something about it and stop it. And it's none of us mandated these masks. And we are listening to you, and we're working on it. And I think those that understand and have been out there, and you know, I appreciate, and I'm looking at you, Karen, and Lisa, and Marla, and others that have been here for over a year of this process. And this is my last meeting as board president. I've done this for 2 years. And we don't do this for I don't get anything else out of this. I do this because I get, $20 a meeting. And I do this because I'm passionate about education. My child was in school. I wanted to make a difference. I know we've made a difference. And I'm sorry some of the folks who've left don't think that we didn't make a difference when we were back in school, when no other school even went back in the classroom. They stayed in virtual learning for the whole year last year. We were back on campus, and our teachers were back there teaching, and our administrators were dealing with kids. So, but we're big boys. We can handle it. We can handle the little comments and that we're not doing enough and this and that. And I get it. It's passionate. You guys are, some of you are more than others, and some of don't know what we do up here. But I'll tell you, we've done a hell of a lot more than other school districts in the state of California in getting our kids back into school. And so is our district administration and our principals and our teachers. It's been a team effort. And I am super proud of the 2 years I've spent here. And I appreciate the parents that have been along the ride for this ride. And I might repeat this in a month, but I appreciate my colleague Scott, who's been with me for 2 years as vice president, and Julie Hirota, who's been with me the last 2 years, and more recently, Pete Constant. This guy's been just a bulldog all over the place, and Heidi Hall, who comes in with such a great positive attitude and willingness to learn and doing the necessary work, and super involved in the Let Them Breathe initiative. And so I'm super proud of all of them, and I'm proud of you parents for your involvement. So I just had to say, I'm sorry everybody else, they probably would be yelling at me by now, so I appreciate the little bit of the discourse. And we didn't have to cancel one meeting in the 2 years, so I'm proud of, we almost did about a month ago. But I know I'm going on a little bit, but I had this built up for a little while. And I know, I'm gonna get to John. He's waiting patiently.
All right.
I wasn't going to forget him, but go ahead, John.
First and foremost, I want to thank Brad and his team and RSCA for the collegial behavior and negotiations process. Trust me, it doesn't look like that in most districts. And so I appreciate the efforts both from our teacher leadership and Brad and his team. Next, I want to just talk about the cool things that go on, because we have a lot of great things going on our campuses. Roseville High School's band took first place at Oakmont Field Show, along with other awards with the Roseville band. And then Granite Bay, and they're up with the big boys and girls up there in the 4A division, took the prestigious first place at Logan High School. It's a huge Northern California competition, and that was a recent first place for our band program at Granite Bay. And last, but for athletics, Granite Bay High School girls won their first state championship by 16 strokes. So great job to Granite Bay High School and their girls. They did a great job. And Wood Creek High School got I believe it's their first section championship in tennis. So they did a great job there. And then we had a bunch of runners. I think we had almost 70 qualify for the section meet last week, and we have a few of our runners moving on to state down in Clovis. So we have a lot of good things going there. And then still hanging on in football. Antelope High School travels to Central Catholic this week in the semifinals for Division II. And on top of that, all the winter sports just started. So now we've got soccer, we've got wrestling, we've got basketball, we've got cheer, and all kinds of great stuff going on.
Don't leave off the inaugural season for sports and football at
That's right.
Westmark.
They
Come
did.
on.
They got to the playoffs, and so in their first start. And then there's a bunch of dance and choir shows that'll be coming up and Christmas concerts. And so I just hope everyone can get in there, pack the houses, watch our kids doing great things. Our programs are in full go. And again, when Andrew said that, that's not a norm throughout this state. And our programs are full go. And I compliment our coaches and our program directors, just like you heard with Mr. Everts, our performing arts. They are full steam ahead right now, and we're real proud of that. So.
Thank you, John, and thank you all. And with that, we adjourn at 9 o'clock.